Hello, and welcome to the 22nd episode of LGBTQIA+, Heroes, Icons, Legends, and Events. This series of programs covers a wide variety of topics, such as activist Bayard Rustin, entertainers Cher and Freddie Mercury, and astronaut Sally Ride. Every year, World AIDS Day is observed on December 1st. In honor of World AIDS Day, today we'll talk about the investigative journalist and author who was one of the first to recognize the AIDS epidemic as a national and worldwide crisis. Today, we'll talk about Randy Shilts. Randy Martin Shilts was born on August 8, 1951 in Davenport, Iowa. He was raised in a politically and religiously conservative family. They moved to Aurora, Illinois, near Chicago, where he and his 5 brothers grew up. Their father, Bud Shilts, was a successful salesman. Although he was devoutly religious, Bud engaged in numerous affairs, which adversely affected his family. Their mother, Norma, never worked outside of the home, and because she felt trapped in her marriage, she became a heavy drinker. She was both physically and emotionally abusive to her sons. Randy was extroverted and talkative, which upset his mother. He was whipped almost daily and was traumatized as a result. He suffered from migraine headaches and he became very detached from his emotions. At age 15, he won an award for perfect attendance at Thomas Jefferson Junior High School. Although his teachers were impressed with his achievement, it had less to do with being a good student than escaping his miserable life at home. After graduating high school, Randy enrolled at Aurora College in 1969. His conservative beliefs and politics changed dramatically when he became involved in anti-Vietnam War protests. Randy moved to Eugene, Oregon in 1970, in his words, quote, to become a hippie. He attended Portland College and then transferred to the University of Oregon to study journalism. He edited the student newspaper, the Oregon Daily Emerald. He also acknowledged his homosexuality and came out publicly as an undergraduate. He ran for the office of student president using the slogan, "Come out for Shilts." Randy graduated with a journalism degree in 1975. He had graduated near the top of his class, but he had a difficult time finding full-time employment as an openly gay man. He wrote for the gay magazine, The Advocate, first in Oregon and then in San Francisco, California. After leaving The Advocate, Randy stayed in San Francisco and was hired as an on-air reporter by San Francisco TV station KQED to cover stories about gay issues. One of his first assignments was to interview Harvey Milk on February 15, 1977, during his campaign for a position on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. Harvey was elected on November 8, 1977, and became the first openly gay man to be elected to public office in California. Randy also covered Harvey's inauguration on January 9, 1978. He walked with Harvey and his supporters from the Castro neighborhood to San Francisco City Hall. He later said, quote, "I interview Harvey as we walk towards the San Francisco Rotunda. Harvey's always good for a quote. The symbolism of our interview is almost poetic. The nation's first gay San Francisco supervisor talking with the city's only openly gay TV reporter." Randy's work in TV brought him recognition in the city's gay community. He was interviewed on radio shows such as The Gay Life and other gay media outlets. Randy freelanced for a short time and then finally was hired in 1981 as a national correspondent for the San Francisco Chronicle. He became the first openly gay reporter in the American mainstream media. He was assigned what was called the Gay Beat and reported on issues in San Francisco's gay community and nationwide. That same year, AIDS emerged as a national epidemic, and Randy devoted his work to covering the medical, social, and political consequences of the disease. Randy was a brash, confident, and impartial reporter. He openly criticized the leaders of San Francisco for not bringing attention to the AIDS crisis. He campaigned in support of closing the city's gay bathhouses to slow the spread of AIDS. This was not popular with the gay community since they resisted efforts to limit their sexual freedom. He was called the Gay Uncle Tom and other unflattering names. He also fought against the practice of outing public officials unless they promoted anti-gay policies. Harvey Milk and San Francisco Mayor George Moscone were assassinated on November 27, 1978, by a disgruntled city employee who had resigned after clashing with Harvey and Mayor Moscone. Randy stoically covered the story for KQED TV and expressed the horror and disgust of the entire city at such violence. The next day, Randy got a call from Michael Denneny of St. Martin's Press asking him to write a story about Harvey for the gay magazine Christopher Street. The story was a huge success and led to a contract for a biography of Harvey Milk. Randy's first book, The Mayor of Castro Street, The Life and Times of Harvey Milk, was published in 1982. He dedicated it to his parents. His second book, And the Band Played On, Politics, People, and the AIDS Epidemic, was published in 1987. It addressed the AIDS epidemic, its impact on the gay community, and the lack of government response. The book was a bestseller and spent 5 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. Randy joked that he had been turned into an AIDS celebrity. The book was nominated for a National Book Award and was adapted into a TV movie. The day he submitted the manuscript for his second book, Randy was diagnosed with HIV, the virus that causes AIDS. His illness turned into AIDS in August 1992, and he developed pneumonia and Kaposi's sarcoma, a cancer which emerges in a weakened immune system. Later that year, his left lung collapsed. He had been working on his third book, Conduct Unbecoming: Gays and Lesbians in the U.S. Military, Vietnam to the Persian Gulf. This book was finished while Randy lay sick in a hospital bed. He kept his diagnosis and illness secret until February 1993. He said, quote, "Every gay writer who tests positive ends up being an AIDS activist, and I don't want to end up being an activist. I wanted to keep on being a reporter." Randy Shilts died of AIDS at the age of 42 on February 17, 1994. He was survived by his partner Barry Barbieri, his mother, and his brothers. His funeral service at Glide Memorial Church in San Francisco was attended by more than 1,200 mourners and supporters. The funeral also attracted protesters from the Westboro Baptist Church. They were led by Reverend Fred Phelps, who described Randy as, quote, "a famous fag." The protests lasted less than a minute. Randy's supporters chased off the protesters to cheers from the overflow crowd. Inside the church, Reverend Cecil Williams proclaimed to the mourners, quote, "The Reverend Fred Phelps has come and the Reverend Fred Phelps has gone." Randy is buried at the Redwood Memorial Gardens in Guerneville, California. In 1998, Randy was inducted into the Hall of Achievement in the School of Journalism and Communication at the University of Oregon. In 2014, he was one of the first honorees in the Rainbow Honor Walk in the Castro neighborhood in San Francisco. In June 2019, Randy was one of the first 50 Americans inducted on the National LGBTQ Wall of Honor in the Stonewall National Monument in New York City's Stonewall Inn. To know more about Randy Shilts and the AIDS crisis, go to our website, gwinnettpl.org, to check out the following suggested items. How to Survive a Plague: The Inside Story of How Citizens and Science Tamed AIDS by David France. Let the Record Show: A Political History of ACT UP New York, 1987 to 1993 by Sarah Schulman. Stitch by Stitch: Cleve Jones and the AIDS Memorial Quilt by Rob Sanders. Viral: The Fight Against AIDS in America by Ann Bossom. What is the AIDS Crisis by Nico Medina. When We Rise: My Life in the Movement by Cleve Jones. Visit our website's digital resources to explore Biography in Context and Galileo, Georgia's virtual library. A PDF version of Andrew Stoner's book, The Journalist of Castro Street, The Life of Randy Shilts, is available in the Galileo database. Thank you for watching.